Hello and welcome to a brand new video. I'm Diyar and today I am joined by Harvey to discuss the latest managerial rumours related to Palace. So reports are suggesting that Sean Dyche could be Roy Hodgson's successor maybe as soon as next season. And let's get straight into it, Harvey. Hope you've been doing fine. How you been?
Not too bad, mate. I think I've been like everyone else, just bored, wanting to get back to the football, but coping okay. We've been okay.
Yeah, let's talk about finding some interesting news related to Palace. So how I see it is, let's say if the rumours are true, it's good to see that the club are looking forward. Roy Hodgson, he's going to turn 73 in a couple of months. And let's be realistic, Roy Hodgson is highly unlikely to manage after, let's say, in the next 5 years or so. So he is going to retire somewhat soon. And his contract extension ends next summer. So what do you think of the Sean Dyche rumours?
Um, I was quite happy actually when I heard it, and for a number of reasons. I know there are going to be Palace fans who aren't happy. There's always going to be Palace fans who have differing opinions. We've seen it
Yeah.
a lot over the years, especially with managers. I think with the Sean Dyche link, and it's looking, I wouldn't say like a strong link. It might just be news outlets trying to latch on to any bit of sports news they can get right now. But the fact we're linked with him is quite promising for me. I think that you look at how he's done with Burnley, a team similar to Palace in the sense there's lack of investment in that team, fairly ageing squad as well, similar to ours. And also in terms of the league position and in terms of style of play, they're not too different to us as well. You've got to say it would be a good fit. It would be quite a natural fit, I think, for him. It would be quite seamless, him coming over to Palace, I'd like to think, and setting up the team the way he has done at Burnley. I think it would be quite a good fit for both parties.
Yeah, what he said recently on Eamon and the Gaffers podcast is he said the following. He said, if the opportunity to come to somewhere that I thought would really enhance my chances as a manager to continue improving and continue testing myself, who knows on the possibility of leaving Burnley. So without both of us being biased, would coming to Palace be a step up from Burnley?
No, of course not. It's a sideways step, in my opinion, for him.
Yeah.
But I do think, though, that if with someone like Steve Parish at the helm for us, and he was in charge of all the negotiations in terms of incomings and outgoings, I think that he's one of the best people to have at the club in terms of negotiating with Sean Dyche. Because if anyone's going to get him to come to Palace and try and sell him the sort of project that he believes that we've got, and although as fans we haven't quite seen this project in the last few years, we feel like we're starting to plateau a little bit. He definitely believes with the investment into the new training ground and obviously into the new stand, and he's got a vision. He's got a way he wants to see the club going. I think that could potentially draw someone like Sean Dyche in, who may see Palace as a sideways movement and may not necessarily progress his career further. I do think that there are some pluses, coming from up north in Burnley to a London club is going to be a pull factor, and he's from South London as well. I do think that would help. And also familiar in the surroundings. He played obviously for Watford, and he's a London guy. So I do think that will help coming back down south as a pull. But all in all, I do think that although it's a bit of a sideways movement, Steve Parish and the way he has with negotiations, it might be a real plus, us having him as chairman at that time.
Yeah, I think the Steve Parish factor is massive. It depends on how he really shows the club in a way, because we've seen with Sam Allardyce. Sam Allardyce came to the club in terms of around December and was struggling. And in January, he backed him. So maybe if you could promise Sean Dyche of the backings, he would be more tempted to come, even though he looks sideways. It could be both beneficial for Palace and Sean Dyche, because realistically, I don't see a big club offering Sean Dyche a contract. I don't see the likes of Arsenal or the Cities or the Uniteds.
Because of that unattractive philosophy. It's seen as unattractive. And also, just going on to that point as well, I think you've got to bear in mind as well, although it was an absolute flop his time at the club, but getting in the ball at the time was an unbelievable move by Parish and the board to be able to get attract someone of his caliber in terms of European football and his playing career. To get him to come to Crystal Palace and manage was quite an incredible feat at the time. So I do think that if anyone's going to get him to come to Palace, it would be Steve Parish. And I do think it wouldn't take much negotiating to be able to get Sean Dyche to, to want to come.
Yeah, and you talked about his tactics. His use of 4-4-2 is famous. I mean, let me be honest. When you look at the formation 4-4-2, it's not the most exciting formations in terms of creativity and attacking. And one thing that popped up when I was digging into it is the fact that he does use 4-4-2. There's no denying that. But he changes it depending on opposition in terms of what players should do. And I've left Selhurst Park annoyed. I mean, Roy Hodgson has done a brilliant job. Let me say here and there. I mean, he's kept us up. We are safe. We don't have to worry about it. And we're only a couple points off the top 6. But me and you have left Selhurst Park before and have been annoyed about Roy Hodgson's decision not to change it up when it's not working. So having a manager like Sean Dyche, in a way, you look at the formation, yes, it's not the most exciting, but a manager who can change it up would be refreshing to see.
Absolutely. And you're absolutely right when you say we've left Selhurst Park before and we've seen, maybe a really good performance, some good substitutions from Roy, and you think, here we go, it's something that we're all happy to see. And then the next game might make no substitutions when the game's crying out for one, or a sub which is, not needed, something like that. And it just feels like it's like that 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of mentality amongst the fan base, at least. That's how it comes across. And so, as you said, to have someone like Sean Dyche who is willing to change things up, he's also very vocal on the sidelines. You notice his impact on the players on a match day, which is good to see from the fans, because that is the only time as fans you get to see the manager and the players, interact with each other, is on the match day. So I think that's a plus. There's a lot of plus points when you look at it. His philosophy does kind of match our style in many ways. I know that it's not the greatest in terms of creating opportunities, which it has been a problem for us. But with the right men up front in the 4-4-2, with the right 2 strikers up front, you've seen with Chris Wood and Ashley Barnes that they've hit the ground running for large parts of this season and last season. So when you get that connection and that partnership going up front, and like we've seen in the past, when we played 4-4-2 in the best era of our club, Mark Bright, Ian Wright, when it does work, it works really well.
And yeah, you talked about Ashley Barnes and Chris Wood there. I mean, they're not the same type of player as Benteke, but they're similar in a way. And we've seen Benteke struggle as much. And the last time Benteke really kicked form was under Sam Allardyce. So there's a possibility of Sean Dyche coming in and hopefully playing to the strengths of the likes of Benteke and reviving his career. So
yeah, for like the fifth time.
For the 5th time, exactly. Yeah. But there is a chance there. And you look at Palace's squad. I mean, this does sound biased, but it does seem like we have more of an attacking threat than Burnley. So I look at the likes of Zaha. I mean, if Zaha's still at the club, if Sean Dyche does ever come, the likes of Benteke, even Jordan Ayew, who's arguably the most important player this season for us. There's more to go forward there. There's more to work with there. So when you're looking at resources, he's actually... We did say Sad was there, but I still feel like he's got more and better players in his hands at Palace than he does at Burnley.
Absolutely, and I think that's a massive compliment to him. When you look at the Burnley side and how well we got some of those players playing, they were in no position whatsoever to qualify for a Europa League qualifying spot a few seasons ago. And that unbelievable run in that season, and the way you got some of those players playing, like Ben Mee, Tarkowski, they're almost like household names in terms of English players in the Premier League at the moment. They're some of the top centre backs, and a few years ago, who would have known who Ben Mee was? No offence to him. So I think that is a credit to Sean Dyche and the way he obviously gets his thoughts across to the players, and the way he can obviously get them playing to their potential and beyond their potential in terms of, when you look at some of the Burnley players. So that's a great thing to see. And if you can bring any of that over to Palace, when you look at players like Max Meyer, for example, who we know has got great potential, one really highly rated at Schalke, hasn't really found it so far at Palace. A manager like Sean Dyche, put a rocket up his backside and, get his thoughts across to him, we could see the best out of players like Max Meyer, which we're all crying out for.
Exactly. And we're talking about resources and actually going into numbers. The season that they did make the Europa League, in fact, the net spend was minus £12 million. So
crazy.
It shows what a crazy job he's done. And when you look at our net spend over the last 3 seasons, so we got £43 million last year. This is according to Transfer Market, £43 million last year into the club. The year before that, we spent £10 million. And the year before that, we got £41 million spent. So we do like to spend. When you look at Burnley's number, it's 5 million, 22 million, and then made 12 million. So their numbers aren't as high as ours. When it comes to it, if, let's say we haven't spent this money under Roy Hodgson yet, the Wan-Bissaka money. So if we continue, we don't know what's happening in football right now. But let's say the transfer window, whenever it opens, and we don't spend a lot of money, Sean Dyche could potentially come in with all that money. And I mean, it all adds up in a way, and it kind of makes sense why we haven't spent it so far, because we've needed a fullback and we've needed a striker, but we didn't want to spend the big bucks. This might be the reason potentially. I don't know if I'm looking too much into it. But
they may not. Yeah, the board may not be 100% confident giving Roy Hodgson, who's coming to the end of his managerial career, a lot of money to spend when this time next season, those players he bought may not be playing under him, you know. And it's a good point you mentioned with the net spend and the amount spent by Burnley and comparing it to Palace, because it does give you confidence that if, you know, the way the board has been, and we're very tight in terms of giving a transfer budget, or that it seems as though they've been tight with the money over the last few transfer windows or the last few seasons. You do feel if that's the case again with Sean Dyche, which I wouldn't expect it to be, a new manager, you'd expect some money to spend for him. But if it is, you see what he's done at Burnley again with buying players cheap and making them fantastic players and making them perform above and beyond what anyone thought they were capable of. It gives you confidence that if he has a tight budget, he can use that really wisely. And that's another plus point. So when you do bring these factors all together, it really does look like it could be a good fit.
Yeah, so let's end this off. So question is, would you be happy if Palace was to announce Sean Dyche as Roy Hodgson's successor?
I personally would be. And I think anyone who says, no, why would we do that? You know, it's not a good appointment. I'll just say, look back at when we went to Frank de Boer, what happened there. And then when you look at what happened when we brought in Roy Hodgson, and everyone went the other side and was like, we're bringing in this dinosaur. He's not going to fit Palace whatsoever. We're definitely going down. And look what happened now. I know some people are still frustrated today. We all are at times under Roy, but he's doing a fantastic job still. And we're in a position now where we're looking to progress and potentially be a top half of the league side. And I think that you've got to bear that in mind with the Sean Dyche rumours. I think that he would be a good fit.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think realistically, it works for both parties in a way. We've seen it with Frank de Boer. I mean, we can still go with the method of going abroad. I mean, it's worked well for clubs like Southampton, but we're not that club. I mean, we've tried it with Frank de Boer. Yeah, it's risky, and we're not that club. And we're at a stage right now, even with the owners, we're not too sure what's going on with the American owners, whether they want in and out. Having Sean Dyche and seeing what he's done with limited resources is encouraging for Palace. And also, there is potential there for both sides to go and expand with the stadium, with money being spent. So overall, I wouldn't be too upset with Sean Dyche. I mean, we'll give it a go. We'll see what happens. And I mean, I see it as a suitable replacement for Roy Hodgson. But of course, leave down your comments down below. Let's see what you guys think. Would you be happy with Sean Dyche as Roy Hodgson's successor? And also make sure to check out Harvey's channel as well. Harvey, your channel, you want to talk about it a bit more?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Red and Blue Site YT on YouTube. It's been a bit quiet at the moment, but I'm doing a Football Manager series with Palace at the moment. I'm doing okay in that. Just stay tuned. I've done 2 or 3 episodes so far. So if you want to see how we're getting on this season, let me know. Come around and enjoy the channel.
If all things go south, I mean, we can have Harvey as our manager at the rate of it.
There we
He's
go.
a trainer for it. But make sure to leave a like and subscribe. And until next time, up the Palace.